Yesterday you ate 4 pizzas, silken knees, licking salt from cutlery and parting orchids to find the table. Homes for catastrophising, mediocre towns of little touristic value. Each day's a wasted life from the lips of one disillusioned at 14. We knew when to leave. Leather bow ties a sign that events had reached a peak. No more El Gordo trimming his logs with a permanent sneer. No more lecherous dairy farmers or sheep pulling up salad. Nowadays, people stare into machines, hoping to glimpse something salvageable at least. Is it necessary to fold yourself in two to feel at peace? Betty thinks so, her clan rinsing our wallets to the tune of Om Padme Hum. She's the type to encourage a celebration, so I'm feeling optimistic. Meanwhile, we're left with unusual grains to boil, and a nagging feeling that someone is taking the piss. Dark hallways greet us, dubious stains greasing pencil-pushing shoulders. This one's got nothing in the meter, so here's a torch. Cut glass flats. Remember to keep all limbs inside the vehicle. Below, 2 horses chase a car up the street like we're in a western or something. For now, it's just us in the whirlwind. Megalithic police trucks weave conical trees and looped logos for a city in progress. But at least they're freshly boarded windows. Tip. Always look behind the souped-up photo of Manhattan, which seems to be a requirement somewhere along the line. Butlin's disco dancing in the light of a letting agent's iPhone while she calculates in the hallway, dripping margins from sleeked back cuffs. How shall we proceed now the PM's abolished tourism and cowering's become a spectator sport? The utter silence when no cliché will do. But here the sky has fewer tent poles, as gulls wheel in from the sea, all battle cries and uric acid. Into the gutters sandstone melts, slowest of torrents. As I sit here trying not to generalise, and your face is swollen. I've got no idea how many iterations this script has been through. I just can't seem to find the right way to talk about things. It's easy to assume your audience is settled on their not too comfy seating and carry on regardless. But I didn't want to be like that. I want you to know that I appreciate your listening and I don't take you for granted. That's why I'm trying to find the right voice. I'm new up here and my accent, this very English cocktail, makes me feel self-conscious, and I try to cover it up, elongating my vowels and rolling my R's. But that just sounds hollow, a pretense. Which it is, I guess, just another way of trying to feel less alone. In the same way, when I'm talking to you now, I'm struggling to decide which path to take. Am I asking questions or giving answers? Either way, I often get stuck in navel-gazing, ignorant of the golden rule that nothing I say is automatically scintillating. It's easy to forget when you have an exhibition coming up. I met a guy at a party who writes for the tabloids, and he showed me his latest article about a man who saw the face of Hitler in his washing up bowl. And I thought, maybe it's best to keep that to yourself? Easy coincidences are just space fillers, another excuse not to understand things properly. A couple of weeks ago I went to a meeting at the CCA to discuss the formation of an alternative education project. I just happened to see the event on Facebook and went along on a whim. I quickly realised I was the only one of the 6 participants who didn't already know everyone else. It wasn't a great success in my opinion. The meeting started with an assessment of the room's vibe, which had everyone competing to seem the most relaxed with their choice of expensive beer bought from the bar downstairs. Then halfway through someone used fact check as a verb and it went downhill from there really. I felt they were all too happy doodling their time away, not interested in learning at all, more the excuse to get lost in logistics and feel good about it. I tried to offer my opinion, but it didn't go down well, so I just started writing this long diatribe, The main point being my feeling that glitter and tarot cards are just a passport to warm red stripe and adulthood in denial. When I got home later, I thought I'd put my anger into something productive, so I started making each of the participants into a different character. I thought I could use them to write a play. The ringleaders of the meeting became a couple who blogged their underwear choices and who said things like, "They look Chinese, don't they, in Afghanistan?" Which sadly is a direct quote which they accompanied with hand gestures. Then there were a few minor characters. The paranoiac who saw faces in everything and hiccuped through conversations because he got too excited, which I suppose is an exaggeration of how I've often made work. And then the permanent residency artist, the type whose CV is a scroll and whose life is mapped by a series of increasingly convoluted acronyms. There's a great museum tucked in the corner of the Mitchell Library called The World Through Wooden Eyes, which was set up by puppet master John Blundell in the early noughties to showcase his vast collection and library. My friend Diver brought me there one day, and we met the new curator Stephen Foster, who's a wealth of knowledge on the history of puppetry and seemed really happy to share it with visitors. I asked him about the play between the puppets and puppeteer in a show. He said that it's a shame when the puppeteer is too prominent on stage, which sadly is quite often the case. He felt that puppets and humans had different roles to play, different aims and abilities. When marionettes themselves are made to mimic humans too much, something is lost. Despite its humanoid shape, everything about a puppet is exaggerated, stylised. There's a greater emphasis on symbolism, what certain objects and movements can add to a story. In some performances, after a particularly dramatic scene, a character will freeze dead, just stop. And you'll be able to read the stage, a paragraph in postures from left to right and right to left. Each character is an element, an ingredient that adds to a whole. Some puppets are generic, the outfits simply change to fit the character. But Stephen's puppets are individuals, they can only be that character. They embody it perfectly, unlike an actor, he said, who, no matter how talented, is always one step removed. I quickly abandoned my script, seeing it for what it was, a thinly veiled attempt to zhuzh up an essay, which I think anyone would have noticed straight away. It was like reading Tolstoy's Resurrection or something like that, when he's delivering a diatribe about the church and the Russian penal system and the characters are almost an afterthought, and you think fair enough, but you can't just tack the whole structure on like that. I think I was also enjoying the power a bit too much. Walled up in my high tower, cackling over everyone's heads and pouring vitriol on any dissent. "You down there! Put away your ill-thought-through judgments at once!" The whole thing just felt too one-dimensional, cut off from the push and pull of discussion, from other people. Life at one step removed, perhaps. In the outside world, people take such a disconnect more seriously with meditation or yoga or some kind of therapy, so maybe it should be treated the same way in art. People always feel as if they're the only ones to experience a particular problem, that they're uniquely positioned to feel this terrible. After my bereavement, I used to visit this website called Headspace, which is a scary place now I think of it, full of happy little brains on unicycles, eating never-ending spaghetti from pastel-coloured bowls. The whole website was set up like some kind of competition for the lobotomised. Who can feel the most relaxed? Who can let go the most? You paid the little brains, and in return they instructed you in meditation and counted the number of consecutive days you managed to stick with them. Then at the end of each month, one of them would climb a cartoon ladder, blow up a cartoon balloon, and there'd be confetti and on-screen merriment. I think there was even a leaderboard. I'm sure it's owned by Amazon now, but I think a more human approach to such things is more beneficial if you can get through the awkwardness. Because the thing is, as Martin explained to me as we were cycling home one morning, via Asda for some emergency food supplies, the sun was just coming up over Hampden Park, and he said, the thing is, we all have neuroses. In fact, the thing that makes us feel the most segmented and separate from others is actually the largest unifying factor. Which got me thinking about puppets again. Stephen at the museum told me that there are some characters who've existed for hundreds of years, like the Pierrot, for example, or the Harlequin. Each performer adds something of their own, but the original thread runs through. The performer is simply adding grammar to the language of that character. So perhaps it's not a question of original thoughts, more a matter of translation, which is what I've been trying to do here, I suppose. I won't make snap judgments. This is a cliché-free zone. I'll just say that I'm trying to work out which questions to ask in this new place, and take it from there.